All right, everyone. So as I promised, a special surprise. I have Joy Pearson with me. She's a phenomenal woman if you've never met her. But if obviously this is volume 1, which means that there's so much more to come from that, which I'm very excited for. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. You are a TV host. You are an author and you're a speaker, right?
Right.
So what inspired you? I mean, were you a little girl just dreaming and hoping to be this, or did it just, like, life's events just make you what you are?
Definitely, I would say that it was life events that made me who I am today. I actually started out, I call myself a delinquent child.
Okay.
Right? I mean, because in terms of my grades, didn't reflect, who I would become, my environment. Now, granted, I was raised by my mother. She was a very spiritual woman, but by all accounts, I was raised in an abusive home. And so, my father used to always, tell me that I wouldn't amount to anything, that I would never be anything. And, so it was kind of an eclectic upbringing.
Yeah.
I was raised in church, raised by an alcoholic father. My mother was raised, was the spiritual one that gave us guidance, and I used to fight all the time. I was this big fighter. So nothing from my past gave me any indication that I was going to be, who I am today. At the age of 19, I decided that I knew that college wasn't for me. So I joined the Army. So I'm an Army veteran, right? And I just from there began to go through these experiences, and what pretty much in this book really talks about my adulthood. So
okay, well, and I'm glad you shared from that beginning standpoint,
right.
Because I know that it happened for me, a lot of major events. Now, it was one major event compiled upon another that
right.
made me actually say, I'm done and I'm going to run a business. But it was a accumulation of things that happened over time
right.
that obviously helped get to that point. And, I wanted to bring that up because I narrow in on that area because you have a woman here who's successful, who has a vision, who is taking her trials and tribulations and making it her testimony into something that can influence others. And which means that, do you guys have the same story? Do you guys have that same challenge that many others have had that you felt that you couldn't overcome? But now I have before me, a woman that has conquered, that is, victorious. And it gets me emotional because I just sit there and I think about, what if today I didn't have this woman before me to help influence you guys, to help just bring you a life story, of a reality check that, you have somebody that had all these things that happened to them in life and they had every excuse, every
right.
reason you had
right.
to not pursue. Am I right?
Right. And one of the verse, there's a quote in here that says that our past should not be an excuse of our failures, but an explanation of our success. So in other words, we go through things happen. My husband and I, we lost our careers. It's always a trying moment when an adult in the household loses their job.
Right.
Right. But my
Absolutely.
husband and I were both in the mortgage industry. So when the mortgage industry collapsed, we both lost not just our jobs, we both lost our careers. So we had to reinvent ourselves over and over and over.
Wow.
I mean, I did everything except sell a Kirby vacuum cleaner. I tell people all the time. And I almost sold the Kirby vacuum cleaner, by the way. I went there and I just couldn't get myself to do it. But other than that, I did everything because I had a $6,000 mortgage. So we went from about $25,000 a month to food stamps and unemployment. And that was what sustained us.
That was shocking.
It was a humbling experience. But, so when you go through that, there's a lot of transitions. There's a lot of challenges and a lot of changes that take place. So it definitely was a trying time, to say the least.
Yeah. And, it's funny because your story can touch so many lives, because there were so many affected in, you know, in that transition, and that really, it was one of those life events that happened, you know, for the world. I mean, just so many things occurred in that time. And, you know, you might be one of those individuals that said, hey, you know what, just like I was, you know, I got laid off because somebody else was able to do the same job, but for, you know, less money. And yes, you know, like what you said, you lost a career, but you know, what you also lost, it was almost like that. You know, sometimes I get lost for words to explain it, but it's almost that moment where you just say, I've put education, time, effort, and sacrificed my time, my children, just my family for this goal.
Right.
And you don't care about me. You just literally just say, bye. That's it. Go live your life.
Right. There's no loyalty that much anymore. There's no relationship building. And I say that not just, you know, on our jobs, you know, personal lives and things of that. People just don't take relationships as seriously as they used to. There's no loyalty. No. And so, you know, and a lot of times I think also is that sometimes we're led to be uncomfortable so that we can move out into our calling, right? Yes. And I talk about that and unbury those gifts, because I know that had I not lost my job as a loan officer, right, I would still be a loan officer. The income was great, so I had no complaints. You know, my husband and I, there was one time where one of the he had just taken on a job, so although we were making $25,000 combined on an average a month, this one young lady had made $40,000 in 1 month. So we were getting ready to start really rolling in the dough, right? Yeah. Dang mortgage company and economy, I'm telling you. But anyway, so right. And so and no savings can prepare you for that, by the way. But in any case, but I know that had those things not happened, I'd still be a loan officer. I'd still be chilling doing that, and I would not have embraced the speaking and you know, the giftings that God has placed inside of me. I would not have embraced those things. So I believe that, you know, had you not lost your job the way that you did, you would not have pursued, you know, being an entrepreneur. Right. So I am, you know, I welcome those challenges and those issues, because I know that it has helped, even down to childhood, which is why I brought them up, is that it just made us, you know, who we are today.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, it brings me back, before we get into how you grew and what really brought you to that developmental stage, and the tools that you used and strategies, because that's, you know, what we're trying to bring, you know, to the Blog Advantage audience. You know, I'll address this. That is why it is important to have a why. I said it in lesson 1. Your why is not, I'm going to do this because I want to make money, because I want time freedom. That's not a why. Those are going to come as you transition and as you go through the process. Those are things that are added on. The why is the ultimate calling, your ultimate goal of why you're doing what you're doing. Because when times get hard, that's what you are actually going to remember. Hey, guess what? My why is to influence individuals so, you know, they can be better. You know, I didn't have mentors. That's why I didn't start a business when I was young. I played with my Barbie dolls. I did all that stuff, and I was always a business owner doing my thing, you know, and it was awesome. And I mean, I would sit there for hours upon hours. My mom would be like, do you want to eat? And I'm like, no, I'm good. You know, because I like lived it. I didn't breathed
do the dolls thing. I can't relate to the. I was too busy.
I love the dolls.
Fighting and playing outside with the boys.
Now I did some of that too. I did some of that too. But with my childhood, you know, I was a lot more, you know, in the house. Right. You know, and so that's kind of where I had my outlet. But you know, the truth of the matter is, that's why it's so important to have the right why. Because when the times get hard, it can't be, oh, I just need money, money, money. That's really not even having faith in God, you know, and that will happen. So we have to get past that. You know, so what is your why? What is your ultimate why? Who are you trying to reach?
Well, I mean, like, really, for me, with whys, I have interchangeable wise. Like I have financial wise, I have family wise, you know, I have business wise. You know, I set up, you know, vision boards, and my vision boards are more than just a vision board in terms of what it is that I want to achieve. I have a family vision board. I have a business vision board and things of that sort. So in other words, for example, my why from a you know, from a couples, I have a couples why, you know, and that is that we will be oaks of righteousness, that my husband and I will set examples for couples throughout our, in our whole sphere of influence, whether it's in our church or our communities, that we would help them to understand, you know, the importance of building a strong foundation. You know, for my children, the whys are that God will teach me to be an example, to encourage them to live lives that are fulfilling and sustainable, and that they keep God centered in everything it is that they do. When it comes to my business wise, I have several businesses that I operate, and in particular, I want to teach people to live an unboxable lifestyle. I think that far too many people, like, as you can see my hair, you know, people like, you either like it, you either like my hair, you hate my hair, but you know my hair. They're like, oh, the girl with the big hair, right? And so, but my thing is, my hair doesn't define me, right? And so sometimes I may choose to wear long hair a particular day, and the next day I might wear something totally short, because I don't like that unboxable feeling where people try to put you there. Everyone wants to kind of say, this is who you should be, and this is, you know, this is joy. No, I'm going to surprise you. I surprise my husband every morning. He never knows what's going to happen, right? But and that even applies to our business lives. You know, we are so gifted. So why should we just utilize one gift? Why should we just utilize, you know, one particular calling or what have you? You know, Matthew 25, it talks about bearing, you know, about the gifts and the man with the talents. Use all of it. So long short, to answer your question, from a business perspective, teaching people how to live a fulfilled life, and unbearing all of their gifts, utilizing all of their gifts for financial gain, to encourage others, and to empower others. So I have several whys.
But the good part, you know, about having because the why is that end result, and your goals and the things that you do are to obtain, you know, the whys. And the good thing, though, about what you were saying is that, you know, you have something set before you.
Right.
So when the times get hard, when the transitions come, you keep the why before you, but not all the things that you're getting for your why.
Right.
Okay, not all the things that you're receiving. And the other thing that you said that was great was, you know, having multiple giftings and being able to use them. And, you know, the Word of God in 1 Peter, it says that we are supposed to use our gifts to bless, you know, for the glory of God. And you know what I really love about that is, I felt boxed in because of society. They say you have to narrow down in one niche. You got to be here. Now, while you have one niche, one area of influence that you really want to work in, you can use all your giftings. I can, you know, I'm a vocalist. I sing and you know, I write and I speak and I do all these things. So I can use all those things for that why. I don't have to be boxed in one way to do it. I don't have to just, you know, at this point, you know, I blog. It's a way to get out there, you know, the word and encouragement, and, you know, that's the foundation of what I do, but I still speak and I author and I do a bunch of other things, you know, so that's it's. All right, so we're back, but this video is playing, so you probably feel like we never left. My bad. We had to change some cameras, technical difficulties, but we were talking about the strategies that you used and that breaking point that you had to be able to get to where you're at. You talked one thing, I know in private we had spoken a couple different times, and one thing that was really big is definitely your support, but also following leaders. You follow a leader and you do what they do. And I know it sounds really funny, but many a times you guys will find that people will get coaches, they'll get a leader, and their leader will say, I need you to do this. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's great. And then they don't do it. And then they want to blame the leader or blame business or whatever that they failed. But they didn't follow through. So besides leadership and following and modeling after, what else have you learned?
And when I say, and when it comes to following leadership, is you emulate. They say birds of a feather flock together, and I really do believe that. And so, in essence, I begin to. It's just like an intern, and why people take on voluntary roles is because if you're operating in that role, then that gives you that experience. So that when it's your time to do it on your own, you're prepared. And that's what I was doing, is I was working in either church leadership or in, different fields, volunteering in a lot of places. And before I knew it, I had taken on certain skills that I had begun to watch. And then the other key thing is I believe in mastermind groups. I was a part of an awesome mastermind group. And accountability is a very major role in becoming successful. So aligning yourself with positive people who also have the vision. They want to succeed. They want to see you succeed. And you were just offline. We were talking about weight, and we were talking about fitness, and you were talking about some friends that are holding you accountable to your weight loss and your fitness goals, right?
Yeah, and we say fitness goals because we were talking offline, and we were saying we don't have a weight necessarily in mind, but we have that look and that feel of being responsible with our body. And so you can actually find me at tanyapaxit@gmail.com, and I have a Fitbit, and you can help track with me, and we can hold each other accountable. But anyway,
but shameless
plug. Go ahead.
And so again, the power of accountability is priceless in terms of having someone who has who knows what your goal is, and who's able to say, okay, how are you coming along with that? What are you doing? What steps are you taking? So that was a very important piece. So again, leadership, and then having that accountability person, and then setting goals, realistic goals. SMART goals, as they call them, or whatever the case may be, and you're making them attainable so that you can track them and celebrate them. When you make your when you meet a daily goal or whatever it is that you set, and celebrate those small things, and then just keep designing them. Setting a personal business plan for yourself. What is it that I want to do, and then following through with those things.
Can I ask you a quick question? What are realistic goals? Because I know that everybody would say, when I was looking at videos and things like that, as I was training and mentoring years ago, I'm sitting here like, okay, well, what's a realistic goal? Like, what can I really obtain? And sometimes it was as little as I wrote down a checklist, and I have an accountability thing on my phone, and I wrote down what I accomplished that day, and I felt great that I did it. Or it could be as big as, I want to write a book in 3 months. Right. I mean, and it's obtainable.
It has to be something that is attainable for you, because what happens is that mentally, if we're setting these goals that we know that we can achieve in a prompt time frame or in a realistic time frame, it kind of dampens our spirit, right? And so, prime example, like now, granted, I want to be a multimillionaire. And for me,
wait, hold on. You're going to be.
Yes. I'm going to be. I'm going to be a multimillionaire.
Speaking it is crucial. So,
yes.
Okay. Now continue.
I'm going to be a multimillionaire, right?
Going.
And so, but in terms of what my goals are for the year, I don't foresee at this point, at the rate that I'm going, that I'm going to make $3 million next year. So if I said, okay, I'd like to make $200,000 next year, right? And so in my vision board, which I was taught that you put something that is attainable for you within the next year or so, and then from that point. So in other words, I might write a check to myself for $200,000 and put that on my vision board, knowing that in my mind, I in the next 5 or 10 years want to be a multimillionaire. Am going to be a multimillionaire, right? And so we have to, you want to put goals that are attainable.
I'll hold it up.
You want to put in goals that are attainable, that are achievable, and that you can track and reward yourself as you're going through.
Right.
So that's
which makes sense. I mean, so definitely. So you have masterminds, you have accountability partners, you have definitely growing within yourself by reading and listening to audio.
Right. 10 pages a night. I try to do a minimum of 10 pages a night of a particular book.
And that's doable.
And
that's
it is
so doable.
It's doable. Reading 10 pages. I listen to audio. I personally am not a big person. I don't listen to a lot of radio. So I have a lot of CDs. Okay. That I listen to in my car, just reinforcing different things. And I talk to myself.
And condition it, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
I talk to myself. I find myself giving myself daily affirmations. Again, I grew up in an abusive home, and people can say that doesn't affect you, but it really does. I had so many negative things that used to come into my ear gate. Now, granted, as an adult, I have been, being raised in church all my life, so I get constant motivation from church, constant, sermons and things of that sort. I've been in sales for 20 years, so I'm constantly getting, great personal development, things that I can listen to and become better on, whether it's goal setting and, time management, all of those things. But then there's those things where you're speaking to yourself and you're saying, oh, you can't do that. Or, we were talking about the fears, your fears of success, fear of rejection, fear of what people are going to say. And when you begin to speak to yourself and you really, begin to just say, hey, listen, you know what? You're doing a great job. Mm-hmm. Stay the course. You can make it. You can handle it. I'm walking in my wealthy place. So oftentimes I'm constantly cheering myself on. I'm constantly motivating myself. I'm constantly telling myself that I'm doing a great job and that I'm pleased with you. We're on the right track. Those kinds of things. So people used to, they used to get on you when you talk to yourself. They used to think you were crazy. But now I'm learning that you have to talk to yourself. As long as you're encouraging yourself. Yes. And
I think it was more answering yourself.
Right, answering yourself.
That's when you're crazy. Yeah, that's when you're crazy.
Right,
that's when it's like.
But but listen, I have something to that too, right? Because every now and then you're right. Well, and it actually is, right? I call it the I am bank account.
Come on,
because you do there are times where you say, you know what, I can't do that. Or, this is too hard. Yes. And so when I find myself, I call that a withdrawal. So when I'm speaking negatively about myself, and this is all in my head, then I will say, you know what, I can do that because I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And so for every negative comment that I may speak to myself, I then try to deposit something in a positive nature so that it's offsetting that. So that's major. You know what I mean? In terms of, if we could cancel out, even though all of those other things are important, the leadership, the accountability, the masterminds and all of those things, none of that matters if you don't have the mindset, to really, really hone in on and be honest with yourself in terms of what your insecurities are, what challenges you're facing, and then deal with those. So that to me, getting your mind right. Yeah, because is ultimate.
And the truth of the matter is, you have. I heard this in my audio, and by the way, I do Audible. It's an app where they do audiobooks, and what happens is I put it into my car and the speakers, and I listen to books consistently. That's what I do. I unless I'm worshiping or doing something different, then I usually don't have the music, or I'm soaking in the morning where I'm just doing instrumental. But I heard it and it was so great and profound because they said in order to change the outside environment and the culture, which is the beliefs and the systems that you're doing, you have to change within because your outside really is a reflection of within. So you can start to look at how you're growing. Who are you attracting? It starts to say, now don't get discouraged. And I think one thing that was really great and why I like this book, because it goes through, a month's span, because you need it every single day. I mean, it just is what it is.
Right.
And some people get discouraged. They're like, oh, I did really great for a week, and now all of a sudden oh my gosh, I'm down. Do you not think that, multimillionaires have the same issues? They do. Right. Because everybody's human. They just might not have it as often, or the different levels of what they're doing is completely, different. But, we're going to wrap up, and I just want to, just encourage you guys. In essence, to fulfill what your dreams are, to go for them. Don't worry about what anybody else says, because God didn't place anything inside of you to tease you. He placed it for it to be fulfilled. And I think that is just so important that you get out of all this, because, you know, Joy is right. The truth of the matter is, if you don't have the mindset, whatever you're going to speak is going to be poison. Whatever you're going to hear, you know, everything that you're going to be functioning is going to be almost like a poison to yourself, to people around you.
Right. And
you're never going to step into that area of influence that you need to, because like I said before, in one of the last lessons, when you step into being a business owner or blogging or what you're doing, you are automatic leader, because people are looking at you. All they see is your online face. They see the beautiful website. They don't know if you're making $0 or multi-million dollars. Because if you have a really great website and you're blogging and you have information, all they know is that you're helping them and you're adding value to them. They have no idea what you're making. They don't know your situation, right? They don't.
That's right.
So, you know, in wrapping up, absolutely get this book. I'll have the link below. Write your posts. You know, I'll write all of Joy's information, because she wants feedback. The whole purpose, her why, is people, which is my why. So, and
just to kind of make it a little clear, because I don't know if I really explained like the Live Life with Joy piece and what it's really all about. This book was basically talks about when my husband and I were going through the mortgage industry and how we lost everything, and then how God began to use different everyday things, like from airplanes to ants and people and, you know, traffic, HOV, you know, all of these things where he ministered to me to kind of give me hope and to encourage me that, you know, that what the circumstances that I was going through were really just to be a blessing to myself and to others. Right. And so as he was giving me these illuminations, they were to encourage me, but then I also wrote them down. And so later I learned that the reason why they came, again, to encourage me, but so that I could write a book and encourage others as they're going through different turmoil, tumultuous times, whether it's, you know, the loss of a loved one, or, you know, the loss of a job, or, you know, friendships, you know, tampered friendships, all of those kinds of things, where, you know, this book has really been found to be inspirational. People are calling me. They're crying about different stories that are in the book. They're purchasing one book, reading it, and then coming back and buying 3 and 4 more books
to hand out to other people.
They're using it as devotionals on teleconferences. People that have met for over 10 years, they're now purchasing the book. And no story is 31 of them, and no story is over 2 pages. So you can very easily do it as a devotion with your spouse, and separate. And it has a journal in the back where we're able to kind of go through the lesson that you learned in the front, and journal in the back where you are and what your growth is. So
absolutely. And where can they follow you at?
You can. This book can be purchased on www.joypearson.net or www.livelifewithjoythebook.com. And so I will be talking about this on the TV show Journey with Joy, that I've been blessed with as well.
When is it launching?
It's actually going to launch the start of the year. We're in the production right now, doing some shooting the videos for the show, and so it's going to be an awesome time. So just follow me. You can follow me on Facebook on Joy Pearson. If you look me up on Joy Pearson on Facebook, and my website, journeywithjoy.org, will lead you to my Facebook page as well. All right.
Wow. Is there anything, last words that you want to just really quickly just say to everybody who's watching this, from all aspects of life and business, to encourage them in their growth and development, to not give up?
Well, the biggest thing for me, I would say, would be just to encourage you guys to really consider, who you're in bed with. And when I say that, I mean, who is it that you're, who are you listening to? Are you getting the appropriate personal development? Are you being poured into? And if not, then that's something that you definitely want to consider. Yes. You want to be around people that are pouring into you positive thoughts, and just encouraging you along the way. And oftentimes we get involved in relationships that we think that we need to be in because we've been friends for 10 years. So I don't want to let you go. But sometimes, when you're constantly involved in negative relationships, that weighs you down. So you want to find yourself, you want to change you may need to change your environment. And it could be for just a season, but really, really be cautious of what's going into your ear gates. And you can definitely do it. Anything that you aspire to do, you have the ability and the tools within you to go ahead and make it happen.
Absolutely.
Don't procrastinate. Just go out and start doing whatever it is that you're called to do. I'm sure that you have a gift that only you can do and nobody else. So I appreciate it. You allow me to come into your homes and to speak with you, your offices, or wherever it is that you are right now. Maybe they're laying on the beach, and that's good.
That's where we're going to be in a couple years.
Right. So wherever you are, we're just grateful that you allow us the opportunity to just pour into you, and hopefully you've learned from something that we shared.
Absolutely. All right, so that concludes this lesson. You're going to get a couple more lessons, and I am really excited to bring those lessons to you because they're more of the technical. They're more of how to blog, why to blog, the way that you do and the formatting that you use, how to do social media, and a lot more good stuff. Remember, there's always homework or something to do below. And like I said, get all in. Just get all in. There is no reason why you shouldn't. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Don't be afraid. You'll realize later that it's not as hard as you actually think. So see you in the next video.